Hello and welcome to t.w.i.c. I'm Cody. I'll be your host today. t.w.i.c stands for This Week in Childfree. We just take a quick look around at recent articles, events, and happenings in and around the child-free community. If you'd like to submit something to see in a future episode, email us at childfreemedia@gmail.com and put t.w.i.c, t.w.i.c, in the subject line. It helps us find it a little bit easier. And before we start, a quick shout out to StreamYard for providing this streaming platform for us to enjoy and share this episode. And also thanks to Childfree Wealth, financial planning that supports your life without kids. For more information, please check out childfreewealth.com. And with that being said, Lenora is unavailable to join me in this week's t.w.i.c, so I have a special guest to do so, and it happens to be Dr. J. Zigmont himself. Thanks, Dr. J, for stepping up.
Thanks for having me, Cody. Last time we filled in for Lenora, it was a Halloween episode we did for her.
Oh yeah, that was fun. That's an old Childfree Girls podcast, video episode. If anyone wants to check that out, so we'll just dive right in. This is currently live. It'll be archived later, but as always with t.w.i.c, if you happen to catch us live, you can join us in the comment section, and we're happy to have you there and to get engaged with you, however you choose to do so. All right, so let's just jump in here. Let's pull up our first article. This is actually from, I don't even know how to say this, but it's osf.io website. This is apparently like a researching website.
Academic press.
An academic website. Okay. Yeah, that right there, I'm not even getting into that. So the heading for this is a framework for studying adults who neither have nor want children. And Dr. J, it's actually the one that turned me onto this article or paper because he knows that I love a good definition of what child-free is, because I feel like that is kind of the basis of what the child-free lifestyle is. If we can't agree on a term, then it's hard to find ourselves, define ourselves, defend ourselves, whatever it might be. So with that being said, this is I gave it a quick read. It's quite wordy, but that's because it's academic. But there were some really cool key points in it that we'll pull out. Usually I don't pre-read stuff, but this one I took one glance at it. I said I better take a look at this.
So Cody, before you dig in, these are the people that did the research in Michigan that found about 20% 1 in 5 adults is child-free. So they're doing a whole bunch of research on child-free stuff, and this is just one kind of little area of it.
And that study in Michigan has been turned over time and time again in articles. If you search an article and it talks about 1 in 5, that's where it's coming from. It's probably that paper. So this actually dives in. I'll start right here, kind of in the middle of the first paragraph. It says, first, we recommend that researchers use the term, in quotations, child-free with no hyphen and no space. I applaud you. Thank you. That is correct. It says to describe adults who neither have nor want children, because the term is short, widely used, and preferred by members of this population. I concur. What were you saying, Dr. J?
I send this to Cody because if you want to see him get fired up, put a dash in the middle, and he just starts getting all.
Oh man. It says, second, we recommend that researchers define child-free adults by neither having nor wanting biological or non-biological children, recognizing that one's child-free status may change over time. Yes, it's a gray area there, but I mean, when you're child-free, you would hope it's for the long term, but as we do know, life changes do happen, and that status it's not in stone. Like, so to all the gatekeepers out there, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I mean, someone can be a hardline child-free, and some kind of event happens in their life, and they end up being the guardian of a child of some sort, or they have their own child, and there they go. And third, we recommend that researchers identify child-free adults in surveys using, in quote, want questions, as in, do you want children, in combination with other questions.
And Cody, so here's the thing. Defining child-free makes a difference in research. I mean, I'm going to get nerdy on you for a second.
I agree.
That's just kind of what I'm So I had a long debate with somebody doing financial research. They do like big national studies, the ones you see like, do you trust your bank or things like that? And they're like, we have a question. Do you have dependents? And I'm like, hold on. That is not child-free. That is like, do I have kids in the house right now? Like, doesn't talk about the future. So how we word these questions are so important in having a definition.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at it from a research standpoint, but I don't care what word we use. I'm less about it than you are. I mean, although my company, I'd have to rebrand, I guess, to use the word. But like, it's so important to have this foundation and this structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's even with like all the other articles, like some got dashes, some don't, some use other. We got to have something. And besides the fact, Google, we have to have an answer.
Yeah. Well, you brought up a great point with dependence. I didn't even think of that term, but from a financial standpoint, someone in the financial realm might be like, well, yeah, child free, like doesn't have dependence or whatever. That's not true. You could have two adults that are the parent of the same child, and only one of them gets to claim the dependent. The other one's still a parent. They're not child free. So there's definitely a difference there. So that's a great point to bring up. Also in this article, it talks about the term voluntary childlessness, and that's kind of like the one of the like the OG terms, the original terms they had for people who chose not to have children versus just straight up saying we're all childless, which was the original term. We're all just basically childless in their eyes. And it says that this term first appeared in scholarly literature in review back in 1905 of a book describing two upper-class women's experiences working in a factory. While both sources viewed voluntary childlessness as a social evil, traces it to a shrinking of marital responsibility. A shirking of marital responsibility, while pointed to young women's limited opportunities for marriage in urban factory towns. So social evil, that's a pretty heavy, I can see how it's just evolved over time to why we have all the articles we have now, looking at people that are child free with a little bit of side eye.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like saying the quiet part out loud. That's a social evil because we're not going to. And, let's be real. This was a lot of these terms they talk about eugenics and other things like really were targeted at women as a negative.
Yeah.
Notice it didn't say anything about men being voluntarily childless.
That is true. That's we're two child-free guys here, and we I think can both attest that we are not grilled nearly as much as the women out there in the child-free spaces. So for sure, child-free. Just a quick little snapshot here. It says child-free. The term child-free, and then it does say sometimes child-free. So, but at least they want it to be child-free. Is an adjective and refers to the population of adults who neither have nor want children. The noun form child-freeness, which I don't think any child-free person has ever really used, is uncommon. Well, there we go. No corresponding term exists to refer to the population's defining characteristic. So
one thing that first used it in 1913.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we think it's like a modern thing.
We're always like we think of the baby. What is it?
1972 baby trap.
The baby trap. Yeah, we always think of that as like the original founding of the word child free. So to see it goes back to 1913, I mean, we just celebrated the 110th year. Congratulations, child free.
So in this article, they actually call out International Child Free Day, my book, a few other things as like popular usages of terms of why they should keep doing it.
They should keep doing it. Well, it's with an asterisk because I think it's fair to say that even within our own community, we don't really like the term either, but we don't have a better term. Like we don't like the fact that it still has the word child in it because that's and child free. Again, we don't really like it. And of course, people on the other side of the fence don't really like us saying it either, because then they're like, oh, you're saying that you're free from children and whatever. It's a whole another topic altogether, but it's the word we're stuck with. So I'm glad these folks put in the research and time into it. Hopefully they do a little bit more of that and give us some more information. It's always great to have academic documents to back up kind of where things came from, so we're not just going off of this is a new trend or this is this is the newest hashtag on whatever. It's not. It's been around for a while. It's just had different connotations to it, but it's been in society for quite some time, even before 1913, and it's called child free. People who chose not to have kids have I would say have probably always existed. So,
by the way, Cody, there's your call out to International Child Free Day in the bottom left corner.
okay, yep, we got a little shout outs if you're watching the video of this, and you're down here too as well. And so it's got some graphics as well, which are kind of cool to look at. So I recommend anybody checking this out if they want to do a deep dive into definitions. If they're nerdy like me and like information, that's definitely a thing. So since I happen to have Dr. J here, I'm going to take advantage of.
Before you go further,
yeah,
they have an article coming out. I just saw a little preprint of the number of child-free people pre and post the overturn of Roe.
Oh, that'll be interesting. Well, it's interesting because I have to look at it with a little bit of pessimism. It's like, well, how many of those people will stick with it? Is it just kind of a rage against the machine type of mentality? It's like, you're not going to tell me what to do kind of thing, so I'm not going to have kids. I think like Miley Cyrus is a person that says as long as the planet's in the current condition, she won't have a child. But there's that asterisk there, basically. So I wonder if it's kind of a rage against the machine type of situation. But again, from my child-free standpoint, I always say that we don't recruit, we accept. So while it's nice to hear that we aren't alone and that more people are finding the lifestyle in the community, inviting and enjoying, that's great. Is it something that we're all gunning for as a child-free lifestyle? It's hard to say. I would say no, because it's a lifestyle. Again, this isn't a movement. A lot of people like to try to tag it as this is a new trend, new movement. It's just a lifestyle choice. That's all it is. It is literally a choice.
It is a choice, but the better data we have, the better we can publish and share and get backing. This next article I actually did with CNBC, I've been working with them for a little over a year to say, hey, we should focus on child-free folks. And by pure luck, the person that authored it, Ryan, is child-free. So, okay, we've started having discussions. It takes a long time to get these out there. Well, if we have data that says a larger percentage is child-free, then more likely we're going to be able to talk about it.
Well, and that's something that we learned in the child-free convention this last year when we had our child-free in the media panel, and it was actually brought up of what stores are chosen. And it's not necessarily that, and this is one of my biggest takeaways from not just that panel, but that convention, is that it's not necessarily that big media is against child-free people. It's just not an article that their viewers would necessarily care to hear about, because there's no real story behind it. Like, so we're happy with our life. Great. What's the story? Like this, while it does get likes and shares and whatever, TikTok or Instagram, and it, just as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, there have been a few that have gone viral. While it goes big on, social media, in typical and traditional media, it's not so big because it just knows that it's not going to be that big of a pull. But if we had more data, that as you mentioned, and more talking points is really the key. It's like, the articles always come up of well, this group's happier, or this group's going to regret it, or it's always tit for tat, back and forth. And so, the more data we have, and the more defining data we get, where they can say that this is a, child-free statistic, a true child-free, not just people who don't have kids now statistic, but a child-free statistic. That's where we're finally going to start maybe making some headway with good in-depth articles.
And I think we're going to see more, in particular, from the CNBC maker, because they did the research of the population. It's like for the personal finance younger crowd. So it's younger, LGBTQ plus, embracing alternative lifestyles. They've been talking about van life, other things. And they're like, of course our people are going to fit this model. And Ryan's gone to the editor and be like, hey, we should do more of this. And the editor's like, yeah, absolutely. It's our people. And that's the big thing.
Yeah. And it's something I've noticed before as well, and whatever, just random YouTube channels. If it's someone, let's say they talk about finance or whatever it is, but they don't talk about child-free finance or their own personal life, and their YouTubes are getting whatever, dozens to hundreds of views. when they talk about themselves being child free and what that, like, it literally gets like thousands of views. Like it's far and above what their typical stuff is. It to me, that shows that there is a hunger out there for that type of information, but it's just not being caught onto yet. If what the study in Michigan says is, you know, true, like 1 out of 5, 20%, if 20% of the population in the US is truly child free, that's a huge market. Like literally, if you just catered to 20% of the market and you knew that they were going to be loyal to you because you were loyal to them, I mean, that's a game changer for companies. And sooner or later, they're going to catch on.
Yep.
All right. So this article with CNBC.com, not having children breaks traditional financial planning, says CFP. Here are 8 money rules for child-free people. So I'll just kind of hit up the heading since you know the secrets. And this is by Ryan, as mentioned before. A lot of tidbits in here. So is this 1 through 3 altogether?
Yeah.
So
no baby. So these are the 8 no baby steps is what we're calling them.
Okay.
So this is no baby steps 1 to 3 because they're all, you know, the basic foundation is similar for everybody.
So we've got create a starter emergency fund as number 1. Number 2, get out of debt. Number 3, build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. So let's just start with the elephant in the room. Dr. J, are all child-free people set up for life with money and we have no financial problems at all?
Well, you keep telling me there's somebody that comes with checks that come like through the sky and, you know, I haven't seen it. I just think there's this misnomer that we're all, you know, billionaires and got money coming out of our ears. The reality check is a lot of people are struggling. That's why literally these no baby steps start with like getting out of debt and getting on a budget, all the boring stuff, but that you have to do because there are people that are, you know, about 2/3 of the U.S. is living, you know, paycheck to paycheck. I'm willing to bet it's about the same number in child-free folks.
Yeah. And I mean, one thought might be a lot of people may be back into the child-free lifestyle. I myself was one of those individuals. I didn't know child-free existed. I didn't really even think of it as an option for the rest of my life of not having a kid. And I kind of backed into it and I enjoy the lifestyle. I like it. I'm happy with it. And so if you think about that, someone going through their, you know, teens and their 20s and into their 30s, and all of a sudden realizing, you know what, I don't want to have kids. I'm happy not having kids. And then it's like, okay, now I do need to look at like the finances of taking care of myself because they may not get married. Like, you know, whatever it might be. So those you know, traditional quote unquote nuclear family social structures may not be there for you. And, you know, of course the myth of the child taking care of the parent is erased as well. So yeah, these are some good basic steps that, you know, everyone should follow, but yeah, child-free people, take note. Let's see. Let's go to the next one.
Those first 3 steps are the same as the Dave Ramsey baby steps. And, you know, part of what we're trying to show is the basics work. Then we take a hard right turn as far, you know, like once we get past that, you know, it makes a difference.
So we got number 4 is save and invest toward your goals. So what do you mean by goals when you were talking about this?
Yeah. So this is specific saying you need to figure out what you want to do with your life first, then your finances. So, you know, for example, buying a house is a choice, not a requirement. Retirement, choice, not a requirement. You know, you have to figure that out. And that's where like a lot of people struggle. They like, well, you know, my question I always clients is, what do you want to be to grow up? Cody, I've asked you that question even.
Yeah.
You know, and the answer is, I don't know.
I'll let you know one day.
Like, it just, you know, I don't know. And if you don't know your goals, well, then you might be saving for a retirement that's not really your goal, or saving for a house. You know, my wife and I sold our house and we're renting now. And people are like, oh, so you're going to buy a house in the future? I'm like, no, I don't need to because I can live here. I got the pool across the way, all the amenities, and I don't have to worry about maintaining the house. That's my goals. I want to grab a boat and travel the world. That's my goals. Yeah. Retirement's not one of my goals. I'm going to cut back on work, you know, like things like that. So the difference from a financial planning standpoint is in your goals, you might have different answers. And a great example of this is most child-free folks don't want to pass the money to the next generation, or it's not a priority. That changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. All right. Number 5, we've got get your insurance right. Insurance is one of those things where, again, you're kind of told it's like, well, you need to have insurance. And then you may be oversold on insurance and be insured beyond what you possibly need to be insured for as a child-free person, because you may not be necessarily concerned of where the money goes once you're not here anymore. What else do you have to say about that? Number 5.
Yeah, I love life insurance. 10 to 12 times your money, your income. No,
Yeah.
only if people need it. Like, seriously, we can skip it. Especially for like a soloist, got no kids and no spouse. Forget it.
Yeah.
But disability insurance, huge issue. So is long-term care insurance.
Mm. Yeah. Number 6, we've got be proactive about estate planning.
Yeah, and that's all the paperwork, the wills, power of attorneys, all that. The question is, like, if my wife and I get in a car crash, who makes financial decisions for us? Who makes our medical decisions for us? And who lets our dog out?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds silly, but like those are really important questions. And if you don't have paperwork, the state makes decisions for you, which, Cody, you trust your state to make decisions for you?
No. And that I was about to just talk about that. So again, going back to the previous article about research and information, it would be interesting to find out like what the breakdown is of people that are child free that have their estate planning figured out versus people who have kids and have estate planning figured out. Because I feel like there's some myths in there. Like there might be some parents who don't have anything with their estate plan because they're like, well, clearly it's going to go to my kids. Like they just think that it's going to be easy peasy, no red tape. It's going to go right to the kids. And that might be the case unless, it depends on the state. Every situation is different. A crazy cousin might come out of the woods. Who knows? But as a child-free individual, child-free people out there, like, yeah, estate planning should be a little bit higher up on the priority because we do plan for the future. Again, that age-old question that we get is who's going to take care of you when you're older? Well, I am, and I'm doing it right now. Like I'm taking care of myself now by planning for the future. Here we go. So yeah, number 6 for sure. Be proactive about estate planning. Number 7, plan for mom and dad. So yeah. You're child free out there in the world. If you happen to have siblings, you may be the person that they look at to take care of mom and dad because in their eyes, you have no other responsibilities.
Yeah, this would be, hey, you don't have kids, so you can take care of mom.
Yeah.
And I've actually been doing a lot of work on this because if you don't have a plan for mom and dad, they can eat all of your money in their long-term care.
Yeah.
Or you end up moving back with them, which is a separate discussion, or them moving in with you. You need to have it as part of your plan.
Yep. Very true. Very true. Number 8, die with 0. What do you mean by that, Dr. J?
So the big shift from standard plans, if we don't care about passing on money to the next generation, the way I look at it, if I have 10 grand, 100 grand left, it goes to my nephews. If I have $1 million left over, I should have used it during my life, or I should have given away. Cody, you and I talk about this as bouncing your last check. Yep, that's what I'd love to do. I'm not going to get that close, but I'd love to. But if you're going to do that, you actually have to focus on spending money. It's actually harder to teach people how to enjoy their money, enjoy their life, spend, invest in themselves. And then we also call it winding down your wealth, it down over time.
Well, it's because it goes against what we're told with the life script of school, job, marriage, kids, house, whatever. But part of that is kind of built into you of you leave something for the next generation. Like you leave something behind financially. Like you take care of the people behind you. But if you're child free and there is no one behind you, for some child free people, they are literally the last ones. Like they don't have siblings that have kids, may not even have cousins. Like they might literally be the last one. So yeah, I mean, it goes against the complete norm of what we're norm of what we're told by society of it's like, well, you have to have enough money, not just to take care of yourself, but to take care of whatever the next thing is behind you. So that kind of goes back to the estate planning discussion as well. So that are the 8 things. I appreciate that. Great job with that article, by the way, everyone involved. This comes from independent.co.uk, and the heading is, I am child-free with a hyphen and happy. Why does that offend you? And that heading really stuck out to me because like for the last few weeks, like we've just been inundated within the child-free community of people being so angry just because we're literally just talking about our life, like even and saying that we're happy. Like people don't want to believe it. They want to think that we're going to be miserable or that we're lying or whatever it might be. So when Australian model, I think it's Ellie, I'm not sure how to say her name. Sorry. Gonsalves, again, sorry about your last name, shared a satirical list of 118 reasons not to have kids. People queued up to monster her. So tell me, please, writes, this is Louise Slythe, why is it so important about someone choosing not to be a parent? So we'll dive into this. That's the individual if you're watching the video. So it says when the Australian model shared 118 reasons to remain child-free, with her 1.2 million Instagram followers, her reasons ran from the universal to the unusual to the unlikely. To her absolute credit, she did say that her list was partly satirical. One detailed postpartum hair loss, another that your, in quote, your vagina will be different, end quote. She even said she was worried in case the child grew up to become a bully, in parentheses, or a rapist. No sex for 6 weeks after birth, and they may kill their twin in the womb, were two other memorable additions. So clearly she went through the list of everything that she's thought of and heard in the space of the child-free world. And not only that, like she may have just picked up things that she heard parents talking about. Like, again, we're only told like the glitter and rainbows of parenthood and how great it is, and it's the best thing ever, but it's glossed over like the things that, especially to women, that can happen to you. And I think she picked up on that, and some people may not have liked what they read, even though it a lot of it is true. Let's see. So it goes on to say, I am child-free and happy. I can relate to her methodology. In my mid-30s, when I couldn't decide what to do about motherhood, I wrote a list of pros and cons. There were a lot of cons, mostly practical or financial, and only 2 pros, both emotional. They were, I'd fit in with my friends, and then in quotations, joy, end quotation. The first told me a lot about the society we live in, and the second felt a little like a risky basket in which to place my eggs, and a nebulous reason to become a mother. Dr. J, what do you think?
So the key sentence here, the pro was I'd fit in with all my friends.
Yeah.
I followed the standard life script. That's a reason to have them.
One of us.
Like, and by the way, it actually answers the other part of it, which is why do people, hate on us for being happy, being child-free? It's because we don't look like the others. So the technical term, when you leave the life script, you've deviated from it, which makes you a deviant, which has a negative connotation, but it's not. It's like, I just went a different direction. I don't care about your direction. But she's literally saying there, I would have had a kid just to fit in.
Yeah. It's stepping out of linear thinking. We're told, and people are, of course, that have kids are happy. They are happy. Sure. But to a lot of people, they hear us say that we're happy, and they're like, well, you can't be happy because we're happy. We get to own a happiness. You clearly can't be because you don't have kids.
Hint. I did some research on this, and it found 94% of the child-free people that responded were happy with their life.
Wait, 94% of what?
Oh, when I did a research study on this, I asked a question. So you can't own happiness. Like, seriously.
You can't own it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy. You happy, Dr. J?
I can't complain.
All right. So let's see. So some of her, I think part of the reason this got so much play is because she has 1.3 million followers. So clearly, like, the hashtag hawks are going to pick up on this immediately and see all the likes and be like, oh, we have to do articles. And it got drugged through the article chains and the bots and whatever. So tons of articles came out about this list. Let's see. Let me just scroll a little bit to the end and get to the crux of it all. Let's see. There were a lot of course, trolls that came out that were abusive to the individual as well. Let's see. These kind of comments on a public forum could seriously damage a woman's mental health. Yet this is par for the course when you're child-free. When Chelsea Handler posted her tongue-in-cheek "A Day in the Life of a Childless Woman" video, it went viral. And like with Ellie, the backlash was vicious. Anyone who put their child-free head above the, what's that word? Parapet. Thank you. I don't use that $2 word. Seems to get shot down pretty quickly. Thankfully, for every troll, there is a woman who reaches out to me to tell me what sharing my story meant to them. The opinions of bitter strangers means nothing to me, but the opinions of these women means everything. And to me, the takeaway with that is if you are child free, try to become comfortable in just verbalizing it, even to like your little social circle around you. It is difficult in a lot of spaces and places and areas. I get it. But one way that you kind of surround yourself with more child-free people, like physically in your realm, is that they tell other people that you're child-free. It's like, oh, you're child-free? Dr. J is child-free. Y'all should be friends or whatever. Like, who knows? You at least can kind of hopefully meet other child-free people that way and work on your community.
And if you start talking about it, it's part of that normalization. I did a podcast the other day, and the person who interviewed me beforehand was like, when you first sent this topic, it bothered me because I was just talking about child free and finances. Like, he's like, it bothered me. And he's a really nice guy. And, we dug into it, but he's like, it just doesn't feel right. And we pulled it apart and we were able to talk about it. By the end, he was like, I've never thought about all the things that go along with it. And he's like, okay, one person now gets it.
We won. Hooray. We got
I'm not asking him to be child free. He has like kids and all that,
Yeah.
but like he went from it bothers me to let's do it. Now, by the way, trolls, screw them. Like deal with
trolls be trolling. They're gonna do what they do, they want to watch the world burn, whatever. But I mean, that's the thing, like it's the internet, it's social media. If you're there to win arguments, you've already lost. But if you can have a conversation and you can learn something and that other person can learn something, even if you don't agree on the back end, that's a win. And that I look for those types of interactions whenever I'm online seeing these types of discussions. But yeah, great point. Glad one more person's kind of on board with at least understanding what child-free people are like. This next one is from foxnews.com. Dinks, in quotes, Dink couple receives mixed responses after flaunting child-free with a hyphen lifestyle on TikTok. Say Dink means dual income, no kids, goes viral with videos showing financial perks of not having children. It's interesting because I feel like most of these viral videos about whether it's Dink or child free, and I do separate the two because I'm sorry, child free people, we don't own the Dink term. It does say no kids. I get it. We have enough time owning child free. Dink is its own entity altogether. It does encompass different people. It encompasses people that are childless. They don't have kids. They have no kids. So they are also Dinks. So with that being said, it seems like these go viral because of trolls, which odds are usually male and parents or, maybe want to be parents and they're angry. They don't have kids. I don't know, but they come after us and it really shoots up the numbers. So I guess from a social media standpoint, thank you trolls for making us popular and getting us on foxnews.com. We can't do it on our own with just regular stuff. So I guess we need the angry trolls to do it for us. And this has been making the rounds for the last week or so. So a young couple opting out of parenthood are taking to the social media giant TikTok to celebrate the joys of child-free living. They use the hyphens for child-free. I'll just stop saying that from here. The term Dink, dual income, no kid, refers to married couples or partners in a committed relationship who remain childless by choice for reasons like lifestyle preferences, personal freedoms, and financial savings. The acronym has gone viral over the past month as millennial and Gen Z couples flood social media platforms like TikTok, highlighting the financial benefits of not having kids, such as midday Costco runs, freedom to travel, spontaneous nights out, extra sleep, and more disposable income. I'll let you chime in a second, Dr. J. It always just kind of gets me when all these people are kind of doing is just talking about their life. It may seem boastful. They may be a little overjoyous in explaining it, but they're literally just living their life. They're not doing anything special. They're really not. It's like, so the anger, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm with you on the Dink term. We go back and forth, like Dink versus Dinky, is it yet or permanently. But I think if you've actually watched the video, I had some people tag me and wanting me to like get into the debate, and I just refused because I don't think it's worth it. But they weren't really even talking about anything really expensive. Like I have more, the way I say you have more time, money, and freedom. I don't say you have all of it, but you have time, money, and freedom. And they're just talking about it. And then you get like the responses. Well, I'm a parent and I can go to Costco too. I'm like, we didn't say anything about you. Like literally no mention of you. It's just saying this is the life they're living.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. All right. Let's see. In 2020, these are going to be statistics here. 2020, the U.S. hit a 40-year low in births with 3 million babies born. As of 2022, 43% of households were childless, a 7% increase from 2012, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Again, you can make statistics say whatever you want. I say that anytime I read statistics, or I try to anyway, and put that asterisk there. Just because there's a 7% increase, that doesn't mean that they're like full on board child free. They could just be delaying having kids until they're in whatever situation is they're looking for. They may not be partnered. They may be looking for a partner. They may not have the finances. They may be looking for the finances. Whatever it is, don't put it all on the child free community that the birth rate is going down. Like, to me, the interesting thing is, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, Dr. J. There are people having kids. They're having less kids. So focus on why are people having kids but choosing to have less kids, instead of like trying to put the weight and the blame on us when you have, like, the answers are right there. It's like, what can you do to encourage people to have more kids that are wanting to have kids instead of coming after us?
So we get to talk about the source, right? Like, I mean, let's be real. This post on Fox News.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when they start talking about population and population rates and all, it actually goes back to that first article talking about like voluntary childless and the evils and eugenics and all this. Because what they'll say is, well, the GDP is going to go down and Social Security is going to fall apart because we don't have a big population is growing. You know what you can do to fix that? If you fix immigration, you can actually have people come in. The population will keep growing. And it doesn't matter if people have kids.
Blasphemy.
But I mean, like, that's literally like,
I know. Yeah. I think the same thing. Like, whenever I hear, like, Japan is always thrown under the bus. Like, well, Japan's declining and, it's in quotations, it's a xenophobic country. They don't want outsiders coming in, whatever it is. Like, but I mean, immigration, it would solve a lot of those problems. And, lest we remember, we just hit 8 billion people on the globe. Not too long ago, we were at 7 billion. Like, literally a billion people just popped up. Did the world get exponentially that much better, or would it necessarily be that much worse if those billion people didn't happen and we just still had 7 billion? Like, would it be that noticeable? I don't know. But I always think about that when people are like, oh, the birth rate's declining. It's like, we didn't even notice going to 8 billion. Like, we literally woke up one day and saw articles, we've hit 8 billion. And we're like, oh, looked around, nothing has changed. So
yeah. And I think what's happening when people judge child-free folks, dinks, all that, it's throwing their junk onto us.
Oh yeah, totally agree.
Let's be honest on that. And we could be the root of all evil. I don't care. I have more people praying for my soul than I know what to do with. Like, okay, sure, pray for me. Cool. Like, but you know what? They talk in here in the pew. This is actually getting back to the first article, like trying to define child-free. They talk non-parents and this, and they're likely to have kids. Look, we're having trouble identifying it. The bottom line is actually we're below the replacement rate in the U.S., so the population will shrink. That does not mean it's because of all the child-free folks. It might be. I don't know, but it's part of the bigger picture.
Well, like the chicken littles out there that want to scream the sky is falling. This isn't Thanos, Marvel reference. No one's going to snap their fingers and the population is going to decline tomorrow. And now we're not going to have teachers and engineers and doctors and, waste management people. Like, that's going to take a lot of time. If we do keep declining, we're going to adjust. Like, society, I have faith in society. It sounds silly to say. I have faith that society can take care of having less people involved in the future that are here right now. And I don't know why there's so much doom and gloom. Like, it seems strange for maybe someone to see a child-free person be optimistic about the future. Why am I so optimistic, but all the people having kids are so pessimistic?
So I saw somebody responding to this whole thing online. I like watching from the bleachers. I don't want to be in the middle of this. And their response was, well, child-free folks are expecting our kids to take care of them when they get older. You know what? Maybe, Cody's got his robots coming or whatever, but
they're coming. The robots will be here.
But here's the bottom line. We're going to have a plan and money to pay for it. So we're going to give your kids jobs.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean, well, odds are, quote unquote, your kids are going to take care of someone else anyway, like in some degree or fashion or form. It's not like I'm going to go to your house and take them away from your bedside and they're going to take care of me instead because I'm going to pay them to do it. No, it's like the social workers, the care workers, the nurses, the doctors, they're already in that line of work. Like, if anything, there'll be less people to take care of because there'll be a less population. But you're exactly right, Dr. J. Again, Child-Free people, we're kind of forced to think ahead and plan ahead. So who's going to take care of you? It's like, well, I'm taking care of me now with my planning to be able to hopefully afford being in a nice place where I am taken care of. I'm not going to, lay the weight of the world on a child to say, well, you have to take care of me. That's heavy. And if that's the goal of why they had a child, it is what it is in their own mind, but there's no guarantee that that child may even outlive you. Like it's like people don't want to think about all of the options. They're like, oh no, my kid's going to take care of me. You may outlive your child. It happens all the time. It's not.
Or your kid might not even care about taking care of you. That's a separate discussion.
That's the other part of it. I mean, who knows? Like family dynamics, as I say, family dynamics.
Scroll down just a little because I want to actually talk about this next point. So another famous critic also recently got in the action.
Of course he did.
Ex-owner, which I'm going to still call Twitter, Elon Musk. And here's what he said, quote, "There's an awful morality to those who deliberately have no kids. They're effectively demanding that other people's kids take care of them in their old age." He wrote, "That's messed up." First of all, Elon, shut up. This is why I don't interact on Twitter or X or anything like that. But what? So what's interesting to me in his language is it's the awful morality. Let's make it a morality play about having kids or not. Yeah. That is some really loaded language. Yes, he's got a bunch of kids and not all of them talk to him, but that's a separate discussion. But huh?
Well, wait, what was it before? Back in back in the social, what is it? What was it called?
Oh, the evil arms. It's the awful morality versus, whatever this was in 1905, talking about a
social evil.
Social evil.
Wait, does Elon Musk have a time machine? I mean, did he go? Is he from 1903?
It's almost exact wording, and I don't know, And then this is what I mean. So, as a company, we have to choose where we spend our money and advertise and all that. And we're one of those that we're gonna have no interest in Twitter, even though it could help our company, because I can't support somebody talking like that about our community.
Well,
and by the way, I'm sure I'll probably get added to the list that, we're bankrupting Twitter and going to get sued or something, but whatever.
I mean, if I were looking for a car to buy, Tesla would not be on the list. Like, that's just me.
So I had a reservation for the Cybertruck and I had it for 2 years and I was really excited about it. Wanted to get it.
Did you just want to throw rocks at the windshield? Is that why you bought it?
Oh yeah. All the stuff, shoot it and things like that. And then he went off on this stuff. This was back when he was talking about childless folks should not have a vote.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I liked Tesla. I don't think I can support it anymore.
Yeah. It's one of the, again, clearly he's vested in a larger customer base of all of his products. So of course he wants people to have lots of children, as are other people in his situation. But in a way, it's a blessing in disguise to see him come out, at least to see Oz from behind the curtain. Like, this is who he is. I appreciate that. And it lets me know where to spend my money. But at the same time, he does have a lot of financial backing to do very powerful things with a not so powerful mind. He's
got a big microphone is what he's got.
Yeah, basically.
That's okay. He's allowed to do that. He bought it. I mean, he spent enough money and running into the ground. That's his choice. But, kind of what did we do? What did we do against him?
I don't know. Let's go to the next article here. BusinessInsider.com. Meet the typical dink. They have over $200,000 in the bank and they aren't paying for pricey childcare. This is by Julia Kaplan. Were you in this article, or have you read this article?
No, not me.
Okay. Let's see. So I'll just kind of skim through it here. It seems like everyone wants to be a dink these days. Dink households are double income with no kids, are seeing their ranks grow, especially as high cost of living and the climate crisis weighs particularly on people with children. There are variations on dink. There are sink, which are single income, no kids. You can be a dinkwad, which means double income with no kids with a dog. Dinkwads previously spoke to Business Insider, said that their lifestyle gives them financial stability, the capability to travel, and the ability to dodge the ever-increasing cost of parenthood. And it's a lifestyle that's paying off as dinks emerge on top of a shaky economy. I mean, again, just to break the myth, not everybody who doesn't have kids are in great financial situations, but I do believe not having kids is a little bit of a life hack for finances. It can be if you're able to utilize it to its full potential. Like, because clearly having kids is expensive. And if you don't have that, expense, then, it would make things a little bit easier or give you more flexibility. You may be able to travel to interview for a new job in a new city and not worry about your kid having to change schools and everything. I mean, there's a lot there, but I don't know, Dr. J, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I actually have to give Business Insider credit because they've done a lot of good work on the child-free content, and they're from the business financial world, so they're going to say about the financial benefits. We have them. We actually do have financial benefits. That does not take care of income disparities, housing costs, inflation, like all this other stuff.
Yeah.
The way I say it is if a child-free person is barely keeping their head above water, if they had a kid, they'd drown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think parents would be hard pressed to disagree with that. So dinks, and I'm going to jump back in the article here. Dinks are not a huge share of the population, but they've been on the rise. Around 5% of the country's total population was cohabitating couples who do not live with a child under 18. And around 29% of the total population are married couples who do not live with a child under 18, according to a 2022 American Community Survey data study, basically.
This is exactly the issue I was talking about, dependence.
Yeah.
This is the type of study that's asking about dependence. That's a completely different question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and also here, around 5% of the country's total population is cohabitating couples that do not live with a child under 18. That doesn't mean they don't have a kid. So, and again, like dinks, if people want to own dinks and gatekeep dinks, so do empty nesters get to be dinks?
Well, actually, by this definition, they would.
That's my point. Yeah, it's like, so child-free people, again, if you want to jump on me and try to claim the dink term, like, again, like dink has its own defining problems of who's in it and who's not. Let's focus on our thing of child-free. Dinks is dinks. Like we are a part of dinks, but so are other people. So let's see. Let me scroll a little bit here. See if there's any meat here. They have a net worth of $250,000 basically, and are making six figures. If you want to grow your nest egg, being a dink is a strategic move. The median net worth of a couple with no children is $250,000, $250,600, according to the Federal Reserve Survey of Consumer Finances, far higher than every other type of family structure the survey tracks.
So here's the problem. They're tracking with or without children. That's a different question of child-free.
Correct. This could be a couple of empty nesters, again, who have, been both working jobs, both have financial stability, great pay, whatever. Yeah. So again, you can only take these articles and their statistics at face value until you dive into them and why it's so important to get child-free data and child-free statistics out there. But yeah, again, thank you, Business Insider, for at least dipping your toes into this topic and getting the clicks and the hits, because that's why they're doing these, clearly, is because people who have kids and don't have kids are both going to read this article, and it's going to boost up through the ranks. But more child-free stuff, please. Let's see. Meanwhile, couples with no kids, that does not specify whether both partners are in a couple, are income earners, but are likely to be when viewed in the context of higher. This is very wordy. So basically, before tax family income of $101,000, and that is couples with no kids. So
versus about 85,000 in the standard house. I mean, that's
okay.
that's the normal numbers we see. Because that is also this discussion about, well, does somebody stay home, take care of the kids, how they do that?
Yeah. Let's see. It says they're set to have a cushy retirement. Again, there's an image here on the screen. If you're watching the video, two older individuals, no kid there, doesn't mean they're not empty nesters. Like, that doesn't mean they don't have kids. See, it says Dinks aren't just living it up now. They're ready to retire well and have the savings to prove it. Dinks retirement accounts are far more robust than any other family structure. They have on median 135,000 stashed away for their golden years.
So little call on that. So they are talking about couples with children without. And as you get older, it's kind of getting closer to child free. So like maybe some of this. But the reality check is $135,000 for your retirement is actually not a lot. Especially if you think Social Security is going to have issues. So it's kind of like, hey, we're the best of kind of the rest. Like,
and that kind of leans into like what Elon Musk is saying as well. It's like, we're expecting other people's kids to take care of us, and that's what all the naysayers say as well. It's like, well, we're not going to have as many people working and paying into Social Security. It's like, look, like, I'm Gen X. I've basically been told my whole life, don't plan on Social Security. And this is before I knew what Childfree even was, had any, like, we've always been told Social Security is probably not going to be there. And that's before all these declining birth rate articles and whatnot. So take that for what it's worth.
So we're both Gen X, and Gen X is going to be the first generation to live without a pension in retirement.
Yeah.
So because the way 401ks came in and all that. So we actually don't really know if that works. It's kind of like
we're going to find out. We're the guinea pigs, which as a Gen Xer, totally fine being a guinea pig. That's the kind of what we've been trained to do. That's the end of this article, and we're getting close to time. I think let me throw one more in here. For those who didn't know, earlier this month in December, there was a pro-natal conference that happened in Austin, Texas. This article is from the austinchronicle.com, and the headline is Far-Right Pro-Natal Conference Will Proceed in Austin as Planned. The Line Hotel hosting anti-democracy pseudoscientific speakers. Interesting. So I'm just going to read the article here. The natal conference is still happening. It's already had, this is an old article, I guess. When did this come out? The first. So it happened. I think that was the first day of the event. It says the natal conference is still happening. This week, a group of far-right personalities will descend on the Line Hotel in downtown Austin to brainstorm solutions to a hypothetical population crash they fear will decimate Western civilization by the end of the century. A video recently added to the convention's website explains that its goal is to, in quotations, revitalize cultures with the world's brightest minds and solve the greatest crisis of our time, end quotation. Dr. J, I'm just going to let you speak on that. What do you think?
Yeah. So I love this sentence. It says, the natal conference has no political or ideological goal other than a world in which our children can have grandchildren. I'm like, hold on. And then it goes on to it like, yeah, it's a stretch. But like, wait, what? Like, okay, what are you trying to solve? Like, trying to, actually, there's been things where like, some countries are starting to give like vacations so you can go get knocked up or whatever. Okay. But then if you look, it kind of keeps going. It says, blah, 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 some names. That natalism aligns with eugenics. We're trying to find the right population. This is the stuff that's not written in here, but it is in there, and it's hard.
Yeah. Well, and going back to, I think, the previous article, like, I've heard people try to label child-free people as like eugenicists, like we're in charge of like everything with eugenics, and to me that's absurd. Because I'm just choosing myself personally to not have kids. I'm not encouraging anybody. Again, we don't recruit. At its core, child-free doesn't recruit. It's a lifestyle. You come into it, and you have the freedom to also go out of it. It's a choice. Like, there it is. So yeah, we're not eugenicists. It doesn't make any sense to me. But this conference that happened, apparently it had some individuals who are linked to that type of talk. Not necessarily something I'm super knowledgeable on, but let's see. Let's go to the bottom here. So it says, questions remain as to why the boutique line hotel would be willing to associate its brand with the motley collection of speakers represented at the natal conference, and what level of compensation could induce them to do so. Despite repeated attempts, spokespeople for the line did not reply to our request for an interview. When they saw our questions, the natal conference also declined comment. Wait, what? So I'm at a loss for words. For those who don't know,
okay.
But real quick, for those who don't know, I'm one of the people that's, myself and Lenore, behind the Childfree convention. Like, we have a convention, we talk about Childfree topics, whatever. If someone wanted to talk to me about why we do it and what we're doing, why we have speakers that we do, I would jump at the opportunity to talk about it. So to me, that's a huge red flag that they don't even want to talk about basic questions of why they had a conference.
Well, this is the echo chamber routine. You know, they're okay within their little echo chamber, but they don't really want to come out of it. And this is actually one of those artifacts of the internet. We can find our people there. They've obviously found their people. Okay, I'm not saying I agree with any of them, but like, they have their group. And I love the question about why would the hotel host it? Because they want to get paid.
It's money. Yeah, it's money. I mean, you know.
Like, if hotels actually judged every conference that came through there, like, I'm not sure they could put any conferences on.
Vegas would be fine. They're no problem in Vegas. But yeah. So I actually did a quick Google on this after the fact, like after the dates had passed. I'm like, well, let's see, have they released anything on what they talked about? As you said, I agree, in their echo chamber of behind closed doors. Like, that was literally a part of like their marketing technique. It's like the first days are like open, but then like the VIP days are behind closed door sessions to talk about whatever they're talking about. It's like, but what, like, you have nothing to talk about after the, like, what did you, have you solved it? Like, you know, what's, I don't know. But anyway, that brings us to kind of the end of this episode of t.w.i.c. Dr. J, I appreciate your time and your input and your thoughts. Real quick, how can people find you?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Cody. Yeah, you can find Childfree Wealth on everywhere but Twitter. It's childfreewealth.com, Childfree Wealth Podcast. And if you're interested in those 8 no baby steps, we have actually a free course, childfreewealth.com/steps.
All right. And Childfree Media, you can just look for us on socials. Lenora has a better spiel than me for all that, but you know, we're there, we're out there. You can find us. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.